Welcome everyone to Steve Savant's Money, the name of the game. I'm your host, Steve Savant, syndicated financial columnist and money color commentator. On today's show, key personal coverage, part 5 in our series on asset protection strategies for businesses with Ike Devji, attorney and asset protection specialist. Welcome to the segment 5. Ike, we're talking about, usually everything we talked about this week has been odd. Not so much maybe the umbrella policies, but D&O, EPLI, data breach liability insurance, and all these things. And we're living in a very litigious environment, right? I mean, I guess the 10 Commandments are off the table. I mean, nobody's obeying, and nobody can be nice to each other, right? So I'm looking at this issue of disability. Let's do the first one. I have a Rainmaker in my office. If this guy ever became disabled or he died, I would be in trouble. He's 60, I'm thinking of this case, 62% of my revenue. He is a high valued Rainmaker. I do everything I can to give him good employee benefits to keep this person. But if he ever dies or gets disabled, I am in bad shape. Talk about that.
Well, that's a great point, Stephen. What you're referring to is a special form of disability insurance that we refer to in the industry as key person disability insurance. So one of the things that I ask my clients as part of an asset protection analysis, remember, because in my view, doing this right is about a lot more than just protecting them against lawsuits. It's protecting them against anything that threatens their wealth and solvency is asset protection. So I ask every client, do you have a key or more than one key employee that is responsible for a significant portion of the revenue that your business generates? And if you lost that person, what would the effect on your business be? How adversely would your cash flow be affected? Would customers leave if you lost that person? Yeah, do you have key contracts and relationships that that person is solely or primarily responsible for? Does that person have a special point of authority in the industry that makes them, as you said, a Rainmaker, and that they are the reason, they are the pipeline that brings that business into the machine that you've built as your business, right? And we see many times that small business owners in particular, and in some cases it can be any kind of a small business, including even a medical practice, right? Think about how much of the work in a medical practice is done by that old experienced nurse practitioner who all the patients love and deal with, and really they come to see her more than the doctor, and she may be doing a significant portion of the billing. What if we lost her? How would it affect our revenue? How would it affect our relationships? What would it cost us to get somebody of similar experience, quality, and training in, to hire them, train them, recruit them? That's a big, expensive proposition, both on the loss side and on the replacement side, God forbid.
Yeah, I'm
this
looking
policy covers a bunch of those different issues.
I'm looking at not just the Rainmaker. I have an office where a gal ran the shop, and without her, this organization could not exist. She was so highly organized, major league work ethic. I mean, she'd be a prize for any corporation to have with her. She's excellent. And this person just decided one day she had enough money, her husband had just retired, she wanted to go with him. But it was a sudden thing and way before her 62nd birthday, so it was kind of an earlier retirement. And he didn't think anything of it. Hey, she wants to retire, I'm going to lose money, right? But then she thought she would be bored. She comes back online and she becomes disabled. She got hurt in an accident. He had no coverage. Now she's going to be disabled for whatever time period it was. For 5 years, the disability paid for her, but nothing for him, right? No chemo. So that disability was for her, but he didn't get anything out of that. And his complete demise of his organization completely got disassembled because she was the glue.
We see this happen a lot, and I think that a lot of businesses are organizationally and financially unprepared to deal with it. And having this key person, key man, key person, whichever phrase we want to use, disability insurance in place is a great hedge against it. And most consumers are familiar with disability insurance as replacing their personal income. We're surprised how many consumers, and even sophisticated ones, are unaware that that the personal disability insurance that replaces your own income is only one of the three major or four major kinds of disability insurance.
Now, are you also sharing with the employer? Now, we took care of the Rainmaker or the high operational personnel, but they got disability income because they're disability. What do I get? What kind of policy do I need? Will that help me do something? Will I get anything out of it as the actual owner?
Well, yes. Remember that the key person disability insurance only benefits the business owner.
Ah, so there's two separate issues here.
Right? So the business owner, in many cases, will have personal disability insurance so that if they get disabled, some of their personal income will get replaced up to whatever limit they're paying for, or percentage they're paying for. And it could be a business owner, it could be a highly compensated employee. Then we have key person disability insurance that kicks in to cover the costs of the training and replacement of the loss of this key person, right? So that's the key person disability insurance. And then, of course, there's the other kinds.
I want to talk about a neglected part of this package that people don't think about. So I'm the employee, or I'm a single owner. I have maybe 10 or 12 people working for me, and I have a problem. I become disabled, and I can't operate, so I'm going to have to start laying people off, right? Because I'm the show. I'm the single shingle reason why people come. Okay, I looked at your list here, and you bring up one of the most neglected disability policy I've ever seen: disability overhead. And again, I just want to say, on Ike's behalf, he's not a property casualty agent. He gets no money for these insurance. He's strictly an attorney and in asset protection only, a very niche market. So when you say to people, you need disability overhead, you're saying you're defending, as an attorney, you're defending their economic exposure. Is that not so?
That's exactly it. I'm trying to protect the golden goose, the business itself. So we said, look, we made the business owner buy personal disability insurance. We asked him if somebody in the business generated a whole bunch of the business's income, and he said, yeah, Marge. And we said, great, maybe let's get disability, let's get key person disability coverage on Marge, right? But then the third thing that you brought up is the exposure of what if the owner is generating a lot and can't work. Well, his personal income or her personal income is being covered by their personal coverage. But then what you're talking about is disability overhead, a third distinct kind of disability insurance. And what that does is it keeps your lights on and your doors open if the key earner is put out for a certain period of time. And if you sit down and think of, if we have our business owners make a short list of rent, taxes, dues, insurance, loan payments, I mean, utilities, you know, all of the different things that are your fixed recurring overhead costs on a month-to-month basis that you have to pay no matter how much money you actually made, add that up and say, boy, if I was sick for 90 days and couldn't contribute to the business and its solvency, how long would we be able to keep writing all of those different checks to keep the lights on and the doors open? That's where disability overhead expense kicks in to cover the business's loss of not having you in there as the owner, which is distinct from your personal coverage and the coverage we might have put on that key person. So there are three areas of disability, but most people are only aware of one.
Well, I'm interested in just your comment on this. Okay, so you introduced this. Again, you're not a property casualty agent, so you have no
I don't have a dog in this fight. It's not going to change my life, but it's going to change the client's.
But you're bringing this up because you've seen this before, and I have a specific story where a gentleman did have a disability. He was a small business owner, and it really hurt him, and he couldn't operate the business, so the business went down. But he had disability overhead. It paid all the expense loads all the time. I think it was for 2 years. Paid it all the way through his 18-month convalescence. I mean, when he got better. I mean, if he didn't have that, he looked at me, I would be filing for bankruptcy.
Even among my most successful clients, can't name one who could or would being another operative word, keep a failing business open for that long out of pocket. So I think your story is exactly on point. It covers that exposure if, God forbid, it ever happened. And we don't know when or if that exposure is ever going to happen. And like every other asset protection move, the only time that we have options available to protect ourselves against it is before it happens. One of my buddies is one of the top asset protection attorneys in the country. His name's Jay Adkison. And he joked with me, he said, you do realize the only people we can do planning for in our asset protection world are people who don't need it. Meaning they don't need it today because they don't have that
So there's
problem.
no retroactive policy.
There is unfortunately no retroactive policy. There is no do-over in asset protection. Either you were ready for what happened, or what is going to happen is going to happen. And when they're done with you, come see us and we'll try and make sure it never happens again. That is cold comfort to people who have worked very hard to build a business.
Wow. Well, I want to thank Ike for sharing this series on asset protection strategies for businesses. And keep in mind, before moving forward with any of the ideas on our show, always check with your tax consultant, legal counsel, or financial advisor. You've been watching Steve Savant's Money, the name of the game.